Yo, what's going on, homies? It's your boy Stumped back for another OPTC video, and in today's video, we're taking a look at the new post-10th anniversary Memories of the Straw Hat Franky in some regular content, taking on some hard stuff like Grand Voyage, level 5, with a mono dex, mono shooter based team for Grand Voyage. We're also going to take on Heavenly Demon 2 and have a chat about what Franky actually does with his captain ability, with his special ability, and where he actually works within the meta of OPTC as a regular legend. Now, Franky as a captain is a dex shooter powerhouse build. Yes, very, very strange powerhouse shooters. They don't come around all that often. I think Franky and Lucario are really the only two I can think of off the top of my head. You probably have Kuma. I think Kuma's probably a powerhouse shooter somewhere along the lines. But we have this superclass powerhouse Franky. However, with his captain ability, kind of buffs shooters a little bit nicer. I have found that Franky's best team is not only with dex characters, but with the shooter-based tag. And that's because with his captain ability, he has the ability to remove 2 turns of defense up with the barrier penetration ability. Now, this is a great ability. We saw it first introduced with Ben Beckman and Lucky Roo. Ben Beckman and Lucky Roo would bypass pretty much any defensive effect by 1 turn, and it was very, very powerful as long as you got the trigger of Barrier Pen. Since that release, though, the Barrier Pen ability has been nerfed drastically. Legends used to be just immune to barriers when you got them to level 5. Now, with this new Franky and then the Treasure Map Usopp that you guys are seeing on screen as well, they only bypass barriers when you're above 50% HP. This was like a rare recruit barrier pen back in the day. Nowadays, rare recruits have like a barrier pen that's like if you're below 10% or above 90%, it's like, fuck that. Just let it be bypassing barriers if we're above 50% HP. And with Legends, just let us bypass barriers. That ability is so fucking strong. Why nerf it into the shithouse? And because they've nerfed it so hard, it does restrict this particular ability by removing the 2 turns of defense up. However, you can still do it. There's still older characters that have that crazy ability, so you can utilize them, and that's kind of where they show a little bit more value. But look, we'll talk about that more once we get to Heavenly Demon 2, because that's kind of where it shines. But with Franky being a super class powerhouse unit and then bringing a whole bunch of shooter characters, you're not really getting the most of the super class powerhouse. But he does boost powerhouse dex and shooters by 5.5 times. He gives 2 turns of cooldown, which is exceptional, and a 1.5 times HP stat, which is very, very bulky. The 5.5 though is flat rate. There's no other ifs or buts about it. He gives recovery and tandem moves matching, and then has immune to blow away, which is very, very niche and very, very useful when you actually need it. You don't need it that often, but when you do need it, it's very, very good. If the crew has a special to boost type effects, he'll extend it by 1 turn, and then again, he has all that barrier pen situation stuff, which is very, very good. He has Sailor abilities that adds 13 times his attack on tap timing bonus, and then restores the cooldown of his own special by 3 when it's rewinded. Exceptional ability. The tap timing stuff is whatever, but the 3-turn rewind is absolutely amazing. And then if your Dex Powerhouse Shooter Captain uses a special, just like every other post-anniversary Straw Hat, they give themselves 10 turn of cooldown, which will only be triggered 1 time. So very, very powerful ability to just get the 10 turns of cooldown. That way you're getting their special off very, very quickly, like in their captain ability with their super classes, and they can get that 10 turns as well, which is very, very nice. As for Franky's captain, it's strong, it's good, but like I said, I don't really see, if you're using, say, shooters, this ability being super strong, because you could use something like Ben Beckman and Lucky Roo. But I think the 2 turns of cooldown is exceptional, and the 5.5 times attack stat is actually really, really nice. If you do bring a bunch of shooter powerhouse characters, which, look, off the top of my head, I can't really think of too many. Again, you have Luchis, I believe you have Kuma. That's another one. But if you bring 2 of the following characters, being Tom Iceberg, Yokozuna, Kiwi, Mozu, Zambai, Senior Pink, I don't even know who these characters are, like Senior Pink obviously, but and then Tom and Iceberg, then any of the Straw Hats, you get access to his super class. You need 2 of them, and like none of them are shooter powerhouse. Like it's like, oh, like okay. Plus half of them aren't even powerhouse. Maybe you got like Jinbeis, a couple of Zoros, Tom and Iceberg obviously, but besides the new Tom and Iceberg, there's no real representation for those characters in the game, so it is what it is there. His super special is going to reduce his own cooldown by 10 turns, like always, reduce damage reduction and threshold by 2 turns, boost Dex Powerhouse Shooter's chain multiply growth rate by up to 0.6 for 2 turns, and transforms powerhouse characters into super powerhouse. So, again, this weird dynamic of being more of a shooter-based captain, but then giving a super class to powerhouse. It doesn't really make that much sense. However, the big upside to this unit, or the main reason they wanted you to use this character, is to use him alongside the 6+ of Super Tandem Luffy. So I feel like you're either going to be running him as a sub more often than not, rather than an actual captain to have that bypassing defense ability, having the powerhouse synergy, as he's pretty much going to be a sub for that particular team. Overall, though, as a captain, like I said, he's a solid captain. He's probably one of the best shooter captains in the game. I just wish that he was just a superclass shooter. And I understand why we just had Usopp, who was a superclass shooter. But why not just, like, they have done it before. Just throw back-to-back superclasses at us. It would have made Franky synergize with his team a lot nicer, and then would have allowed us to bring a lot more shooter characters that were getting a lot more buffs as well. But look, Dex shooters have a lot going for them right now. As you can see, the new 10th anniversary Ace. We have the Summertime Brook from the Kazuna batch. We have Ace Yamato as well. They're technically a shooter, but then they can also be Dex. And getting Grand Voyage level 5 done was actually very, very easy to do, even though we had to replace Franky Tanky from the team. Alright, so let's dive into Garb's Challenge Heavenly Demon 2 now, and take a look at this defense up removal ability. We're going to hybrid him up with the 6+ Luffy, because look, that's really what they want you to do. And then we're going to bring a very Straw Hat centric based team with Usopp, Yasop. We have the anniversary exclusive Luffy. We have Nami from the post 10th anniversary celebration as well. And then I just brought Verse Ace, because trying to get characters that work under both of these units, unless you're bringing Dex characters, it's actually quite hard. They've got to be Free Spirit, they've got to be Shooter, they've got to be Fighter, or they've got to be Powerhouse. So it was a little bit challenging to do so, but I did manage to find a way to do it with Verse Ace and Anniversary Exclusive Luffy being those two strength characters that could kind of fit both classes and still have some type advantage here as well. But the special, let's take a look at the special of Franky, because that's pretty much what we're going to be using him for majority of content. I can definitely see Franky being used when there's blowaway. When there's a blowaway mechanic, like, what's his name? Verse Whitebeard came out of the basement and was like, yo, what's up? I can now be used. And that's where I think Franky's going to see most of his play. Don't get me wrong, he's still going to be able to beat content. He's still going to be a great captain. There's lots of defense up. He's still going to be a very, very good unit. And there's lots of defensive effects. He's still going to be a great unit, because if you just build a whole bunch of shooter characters and bypass the barrier pen stuff, you can just basically remove damage reduction, threshold, and defense up with Franky as captain. If you run 2 Frankies, obviously you're removing 4 turns of defense up. That's very, very good, provided you can get that barrier penetration ability off. But his special gives 1 turn of cooldown to all characters. So no matter who you're bringing, everyone's going to get cooldown, which is awesome. On top of the 2 turns he gives his captain, which is great. And then he reduces damage reduction and threshold by 4 turns. Now I do wish this was 5, but look, I will take 4 turns, because obviously with his super class, he removes another 2 turns. And then obviously with his pseudo double special, this could technically go up to something like 8 turns, which is kind of nuts. He reduces ship bind by 7 turns. A pretty niche ability, but not one that's not heavily represented in the game. He boosts color affinity of Dex Power Shooters by 2.75 for 2 turns, and obviously as captain, he turns that into 3 turns, just like the Luffy does with the attack boost. And then he reduces Dex Powerhouse Shooter resistance by 10% for 1 turn. So if you are a Dex Powerhouse shooter character, like Franky is, you're actually getting 30% resistance, which is very, very good. Like, very, very strong. But again, there's not a lot of powerhouse shooters in the game, let alone Dex powerhouse shooters. The only other one I can think of is the new 6+ Dex Rob Lucci for 1 turn, and allows the chain multiply growth rate altering effect to be increased up to 2 times. If you've already used his special in this turn, you further increase chain multiply growth rate effect by 0.2 and increase type effects by 0.5. So ideally, you can just buff his own special. And then, yeah. But very rare you actually get the special off in the same turn. If it was the same, like, quest, then it would make more sense. But in the same turn, it does make it a little bit more challenging to do. And I guess that's kind of the downside to all of these memories of the Straw Hat characters. If it was within the same quest, it would just make them infinitely better. But I believe all of them are within the same turn, which is the massive problem with the character. That means you have to bring a bunch of characters to give them cooldowns. They're all on something like 13 turns with Limit Break expansion. Even without it, 14 turns, trying to get that to work can be a bit of a problem. Obviously, having the utility for like the pseudo double special, it's quite nice, but I just wish they were 12 turns cooldown as a flat rate, 10 turns if you Limit Break expand them. That would make way more sense and make the characters so much better. But look, we're here, this is what we have, and as a special, Franky does a lot. As a captain, he does a lot, and you can bypass a lot of defensive-based abilities with Franky. But as you guys see here over here in Heavenly Demon 2, we are utilizing Verse Ace with his barrier pen. We're also using Sop with his barrier pen to take down the defense up on the Virgo stage. We used it on the, what's his name? Pika stage, and then we're going to use it again against Doflamingo. With characters that have barrier penetration, that just goes through barriers completely, like these older characters do, that's where Franky's going to see most of his value. Obviously, I wouldn't buy into the whole, I need to bring powerhouse characters for his superclass. Don't even worry about his superclass, like buffing the superclass itself. Just look at the ability that it does and where that'll actually help you within content. But, like I said, there's other characters that could already do what Franky was doing. And now with the barrier pen ability being nerfed, it does make this way more restrictive for Franky. Not only because like powerhouse shooters don't exist, but for the shooter characters that now do exist, you do need to be above 50% HP. And even with Heavenly Demon 2, some pretty old content, we are nowhere near the 50% mark, so we're not getting that, which is a little bit of a shame, and it does hinder what Franky can do otherwise. Otherwise, he's a very niche character. He's great in PvP. He's going to have some usefulness here and there. And obviously, being a treasure map legend, he's going to be boosted in every treasure map to come. So when you see these really niche, crappy abilities in treasure map, Franky is going to be your guy that you want to go towards. As you guys see here, you say goodbye to that defense up, and that is a very, very cool ability as well. But let me know what you guys think of Franky in the comment section below. While you're down there, belt the like button, hit the subscribe button, do all that good stuff. Most importantly, wherever you guys are in this beautiful world, please remember to enjoy the rest of your day. As always, homies, thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Loads!